Morning, Pasantos, dear friends. Today I have the privilege to share with you my understanding of conflicts in Nigeria, which dates back from its post-colonialism era until present times. And the first part of my presentation, I will speak about the historical ground, which is the era before Nigeria was created as a single independent state. And the second part of my presentation will be about complexity, the dynamic of conflicts in Nigeria, along with the major political events. The third part is about the complexity and the nature of conflicts in Nigeria. And also, at the end of my presentation, I will try to explain about the resolution, which has been taking place in local, regional, national, or even regional level. And it's gonna be, I hope it's not going to be too long, but I hope you can bear with me. Talking about Nigeria, we talk about the most populous country in the African region, with over 180 million people living there, each with their own differences, either in culture, in religion, in language. And Nigeria, located in Western Africa, comprises of more than 250 ethnic groups and tribes. And also, because of this demographic reality, it makes Nigeria prone to conflicts. And to quote what Pasantos has said in our previous lecture, Nigeria can be referred to as conflict laboratory simply because all kinds of conflicts have been taking place there. And to get a better understanding about the conflicts in Nigeria, we first have to know about the historical perspective. So I'm not going to explain from the day it gained its independence, but from the day Nigeria was still under British colonialism. So this is the start, the geography of Nigeria. Nigeria is located in Western Africa. It borders with Niger in the north, with Chad in the northeast, with Cameroon in the southeast, and with Benin in the west. This is the historical ground before I explain about the conflicts in Nigeria. Why historical ground is very important for us? Because I think all conflicts, especially in the developing countries, in the developing world, must have had its roots in colonialism. So this is why it's very important for us to start from here. The first is the formation of city-states, kingdoms, and empires. And I'm going to pick 3 examples for this presentation, and those are Hausa states, Oyo Empire, and Ring Kingdom. To put it simply, what happened in Nigeria pre-colonialism era is pretty much the same with what happened in our country, Indonesia. Because the territory in which now makes up the whole Nigeria, there once existed many states, kingdoms, and empires. And the most well-known, or I can say most relevant to this presentation, are Hausa states, Oyo Empire, and Ring Kingdom. Why? Because Hausa states, these 3 kingdoms, these 3 states, are the people of these respective states will be, in the later development, will be the 3 main ethnic groups which dominate the demography of Nigeria. Hausa states, we know that it's a home for Hausa Fulani group. Hausa Fulani group is actually a result of the integration of 2 different groups, Hausa people and Fulani people, but they share a common identity. Both are Muslim, so through intermarriages they are integrated, and they are now commonly referred to as Hausa Fulani. And they're basically they're based in northern part of Nigeria, and they're absolutely Muslims. And Oyo Empire, the dominant group in Oyo Empire, we know it's called the Yoruba people, the Yorubas. And territory which used to be the location of Oyo Empire was in western Nigeria. So it's no wonder that in modern day Nigeria, the western part of Nigeria is mostly inhabited by the Yoruba people. And the Ring Kingdom is mostly known as the center of Igbo commerce, Igbo culture, Igbo tradition. So Igbo people come from this kingdom. And then we move to the second point is Sokoto Caliphate, founded in 1804. Previously, we know that the northern part of Nigeria is primarily inhabited by Muslim people. And its significance became greater when in 1804, Sokoto Caliphate was built by Usman Folio, a Fulani. He was a Fulani. And the objective of the creation of the Sokoto Caliphate, it was actually a political expression based on the desire to establish a proper Muslim society in the northern region of Nigeria. But unfortunately, when Britain expanded to Africa in search of colonies, Sokoto Caliphate was abolished, and the northern part of Nigeria became the Northern Protectorate of Nigeria under British rule. Fast forward in 1901, Britain officially ruled in Nigeria, and just like any other Western powers, Western colonialists, what Britain did was mainly about the fragmentation. So Nigeria was divided into north and south areas. The northern protectorate Nigeria dominated by the Muslim people, and southern protectorate of Nigeria dominated by the Christians. And because of this, it would later be a root cause of the discrepancy in the case of human development. And in 1914, eventually, Britain decided to merge the northern and southern parts of Nigeria to become one united state, one united entity called Nigeria, but still under British rule. The purpose of this amalgamation is actually to provide economic and administrative convenience. But this move by Britain actually would be the root causes of all ethnic conflicts that would happen in Nigeria after independence. In 1960, finally, Britain granted Nigeria an independence, and Tafawa Balewa became the first prime minister. So this is the historical graph before we talk deep about indexation. This is the demography of Nigeria. As I've mentioned earlier, that the demography of Nigeria are dominated by three main ethnic groups: the Hausa Fulani, the Yoruba, and the Igbo. And if you can see, this is the map. This is somehow there is a ethnic regionalization. North dominated by Hausa Fulani, east by Igbo, and west dominated by Yoruba. So this pattern or this demographic map is actually the legacy of British colonialism, because during their tenure or during their rule in Nigeria, Britain really divided Nigeria into several parts, mainly three parts. Because of the amalgamation that I have explained earlier, also in 1914, Britain forcefully merged this region to become one. It causes problems because these three groups are actually different. They have very striking differences, especially in identity. And when they're forcefully united, there is an ethnic competition, and it also causes conflicts in the majority of Nigeria's history. That is why, but Britain realized that this regionalization created a chaotic situation. So, with cooperation with Nigerian leaders, Britain created federalism with the purpose of cultural diversity, protecting the minorities, geographical factor, economic factor, effective administration, bringing government nearer to the people. This used to be the initial purpose why Britain created federalism in Nigeria. but it's not. It turns out to be ineffective because with this form federalism, conflicts still happen in Nigeria, or even worse. This is the characteristic of the three main ethnic groups in Nigeria. Hausa Fulani, I mentioned earlier, they're basically based in North, primarily Muslim, and this one needs to be highlighted. Dominating Nigeria's politics because most people in the federal government are Hausa Fulani, and this is actually there is a correlation between this fact, this reality, with the legacy of Sokoto Caliphate, because Sokoto Caliphate was built as a political expression, as a political entity. Thus, it leaves somehow a legacy to all the Hausa Fulani to play a dominant role in politics. And the next Yoruba, based in West, when British ruled the country, the Yoruba, or the western part of Nigeria, was once a missionary target. And thus, some finally embraced Christianity, but others still preserve their traditional beliefs. And for occupation, they are primarily engaged in agriculture. Ugbo, based in East, primarily Christian, and well known to be richer and more educated than the other ethnic groups because their acceptance towards British influence. Because North dominated by Muslims, there is somehow a resistance in British influence, education, trade, cooperation, and others. So it's really affecting their differences because Igbo was more open to the West influence. That's why they're becoming richer and more educated because they accepted West-oriented education, and also they formed or they conducted trade cooperation with Western also. So talking about Nigeria, I'm gonna divide this presentation into four phases because Nigeria, with its form of republic, have experienced its ups and downs due to the military coup. So there are first until fourth republic, which I'm going to explain. This is the first republic, started from 1963 to 1979. Some of you might wonder, Nigeria already gained independence in 1960, but why we started the first republic in 1963? Because when Nigeria gained independence in 1960, it was still in the form of institutional monarchy, with Queen of England still served as the head of state. But in 1963, Nigeria finally became a republic, and it was also followed by a change in constitution, which places President of Nigeria as the head of state and Prime Minister of Nigeria as the head of executive. And next, the first military coup happened in 1966 under General Johnson Agui Ironsi. So in 1966, exactly on January, some young Christian Igbo officers led the military coup. This one is to be highlighted, Christian Igbo officers. So the officers that conducted the coup were Igbo people and also Christians. And unfortunately, during this military coup, many senior officers and also leaders were assassinated, including Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa, which came from the north. And this really was the main cause of the conflict which later happened, because that time General Johnson Agui Ironsi, he pretended to be the mediator. He pretended to be the one who stopped the coup, who stopped the conflict, this military coup. But in later development, it was noted that actually General Johnson Agui Ironsi was only trying to seize the opportunity amidst the chaotic situation, to seize the power for himself, to gain power for himself. And after this military coup, he took the full power of the government, and Nigeria became under the military rule. And The next is the Igbo massacre, still happening in the same year, 1966. This was actually caused by the fear from the North-based people of the Igbo domination, because what they have seen in the previous military coup, that the military coup was conducted mainly by the Igbo people, and the North-based people were afraid that the Igbo people or the Easterners were only trying to take full domination of the government, and it was also worsened by General Agui Ironsi to create or to abolish regionalization with a unitary system. Because with this unitary system that General Agui Ironsi was about to promote in Nigeria, it would only create Igbo domination, and other ethnic groups would be marginalized. So the Igbo massacre in 1966 was actually a counterattack by the North-based people to the Igbo people, who are mostly based on the east part of Nigeria. And in this counter coup, General Johnson Ironsi was killed, was assassinated, and finally, Igbo people going back to east, because although North was primarily dominated by the House of Fulani people, Muslim, but there is a little percentage of Igbo people, Christian people living there. And this Igbo massacre, aside from killing thousands of Igbo people in the North region, but also the result of Igbo people had to mobilize back to their homeland. The Second Republic. So when General Murtala Mohammed took over the power or the government from General Yakubu Gowon, he had a pledge to return the rule to the civilian. But unfortunately, he was assassinated. But fortunately, General Olusegun Obasanjo was a kind man and not going to benefit the power for himself. So he kept the promise of his predecessor. And finally, in 1979, he prepared all the things that need to be taken to hold or to conduct an election to give back the rule to the civilian. And finally, in 1979, there was an elections, and Al-Haji Sheikh Shagari came to power through the election through a very democratic process. And the next one is Maitat Sani riot in 1980. Maitat Sani riot in 1980 was basically a conflict in the northern part of Nigeria. There was a man called Muhammad Umarwa. He actually came from Cameroon, but he resided in Nigeria, and he has an unorthodox approach to all his preachers. He referred to himself as a prophet, but ironically, he still successfully gained many followers, and somehow this growing movement is posing a threat to the Muslim community in northern Nigeria. So the local authority needed to take an action. That's the first. This Maitat Sani riot marks the first religious conflict in Nigeria. The next is religious crisis in Kano in 1982. It happened when in Kano there is an area called Fage, and there used to be a plan, project of church reconstruction, but the Muslim community in Fage truly rejected this plan of church reconstruction because they felt like it was reconstructed too near the mosque. So they did a mass protest. They did mass protest on the streets, and they threatened that if this reconstruction still going, they would create another greater, or they would cause another violence. So because there was a police, there was police groups were located there to create or to ensure the security. The Muslim community in Kano turned their focus to attack the Christian settlement in Kano, which is located in Sakyagri. So this is also a religious crisis in Kano because it's involving the Muslim and Christian community. Another military coup under General Muhammad Buhari in December 1983. Actually, with Nigeria had a leader from a very democratic process through election. It was actually a progress for Nigeria, but due to the very weak of political institution, political leadership as well, another military coup is inevitable. And it happened again in 1983. This time, General Muhammad Buhari accused Shehu Shagari to be incompetent and doing corrupt practices. So based on this, General Muhammad Buhari through the government of Shehu Shagari, and he came to power to finally return the government to be under military rule. But not long after that, 2 years later, General Ibrahim Babangida seized his power. So it's actually another military coup because General Ibrahim Babangida overthrew Muhammad Buhari from power and seized his power for himself, starting from 1985. What is interesting in this last part of Second Republic is General Ibrahim Babangida was actually a man who helped General Muhammad Buhari to overthrow Almighty Shehu Shagari. But in the later development, he also turned down General Muhammad Buhari to gain power for himself. And this marks the end of the Second Republic. We're entering the Third Republic after 8 years under military rule, and General Ibrahim Babangida decided to retire from the military. He transferred the power to interim national government. So interim national government was created and headed by Ernest Shonekan in 1993, which was its main objective was to return the power to the civilian rule, just like in 1979. But unfortunately, this plan to create a new republic and bringing back or restoring democracy was dismantled by General Sani Abacha in the same year, because General Sani Abacha, instead of promoting or supporting the democratic process of preparing to return to the democratic process, he decided to seize the power for himself. And later, he took the power, and Nigeria is still under military rule. Next, Wari crisis in Wari, happening in 1997 between the Itsekiris versus the Ijaws. Though at the first or the start of the presentation, I have explained that Nigeria was mainly dominated by 3 ethnic groups, but there are also other ethnic groups, including the Itsekiri and Ijao, which were located in Wari, which were based in Wari. Wari is in the southeast region of Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken. What is causing conflict between these 2 ethnic groups or these 2 tribes? Well, in 1997, General Sani Abacha, the leader of Nigeria at that time, decided to create a local government council. And the conflict between these 2 ethnic groups was actually as simple as about where the headquarters of the local government of Wari should be located. At first, the headquarters of the local government was located in the area, the hijau area of Wari. But because the secretaries were plotted as the more educated and the more active in politics, and also the insecurities, many people from the insecurity tribes are in the federal government. They replaced the headquarters of the local government to the insecurity area of Wari. This leads to conflict because the Hijau prison, this move was actually another effort, another way to further marginalize the crisis in Wari. And the next, in 1999, restoring democracy, because finally General Sania Bacha sadly passed away, and his successor tried to restore democracy back to Nigeria. And exactly in the same year, there was an election, and we're going to the fourth republic, probably like Jakarta in Indonesia. So many people from every part of Nigeria wanted to come to Jos, to Plateau State, to gain job opportunities. And of course, the influx of people coming from every part of Nigeria to Jos, Plateau State, makes the indigene or the local people, they are feeling crowded out by the newcomers, by the settlers or non-indigene, and this leads to conflict, and especially because indigene, who are mostly Christians, don't feel like it's acceptable for them to have a local government headed by Muslim, a Hausa Fulani Muslim, and this is what happens in Jos, and this creates conflict. The next clashes between Hausa and Yoruba, I think this one is very clear. Clash between ethnic groups, Hausa group and Yoruba group in 2002. The causes of conflict is as simple as the Yoruba group of people did not accept that a leader in the local government who was elected came from the Hausa group of people. So all of a sudden, Yoruba group of people just did an attack to the settlement of the mostly inhabited Muslim Hausa Fulani group. And the next conflict in Niger Delta, actually there are quite many conflicts taking place in Niger Delta, but this one in 2004 is related to the oil crisis. Niger Delta is located in the eastern part of Nigeria and commonly known as the region which produces oil, and oil is a very important commodity in Nigeria. The crisis happened because the ethnic groups, or the local ethnic groups in Niger Delta, did not accept the exploitation conducted by the international foreign companies. They felt like they were being exploited. They felt like the revenues of the oil production should be returned to their own development, the development of Niger Delta, instead of the MNCs, the multinational companies. So this led to massive or growing protests from the local ethnic groups, and they even did violent activities, destructing infrastructures, creating chaotic situation on streets. Even the government had to put military groups there to make sure the conflict was not prolonged. But fortunately, this conflict causes Nigeria having to experience oil crisis because their supply of oil must have be distracted due to the conflict. And the next, and I think you guys have know it very well, Boko Haram insurgency. Truly, Boko Haram was created in 2002, but starting its operation in 2009. And this Boko Haram group was created by Muhammad Yusuf. And mainly they came from the north because Boko Haram means they forbid or they think everything about Western is haram. And we know that in the north region of Nigeria, there is quite a resistance towards West influence. Thus, the majority of North people did not want to enter or attend the secular education which was provided by the government, by the national government. And this was an opportunity for Boko Haram. Boko Haram was created and it built a religious complex. There was a school and mosque there. And many poor families from all over Nigeria, many poor Muslim families from all over Nigeria and also from the neighboring countries came to this school provided by Boko Haram. But unfortunately, and as we know it, the objective of Boko Haram was not to educate the kids, the people, but the school, it became the grounded place for the jihadists. And what Boko Haram wanted to do was to create an Islamic state. They were very opposed to the Nigerian government because they felt like anything associated with West cultures, even elections, voting, they presumed it as Western influence things, so they didn't want it. And either Muslim or non-Muslim leaders who take charge of power in Nigeria, they're still opposed. So this movement grew, and their insurgency not only affecting Nigeria but also neighboring countries because it became very big attention to the neighboring countries as well because they're affected, such as Chad, Cameroon, and Niger. And the next conflict, which I think is still related to our lecture, still relevant, is Niger Delta conflict in 2016 in relation in successionism issue. Because of the satisfaction from the people of Niger Delta, they wanted to separate from Nigeria. I presume one of the leading factors, the driving factors why they wanted to secede from Nigeria was because of oil resources. Because they felt like the distribution of revenues were unfair because mostly the revenues from the oil production going to north to the federal government, and what they get in return is probably a little percentage of it. And through the Niger Delta Avengers, they wanted to create a new country separating from Nigeria. So what I have explained from the first to the fourth republic is actually an overview and an evidence to all of you that indeed Nigeria, even since it became independent state until now, is still haunted by many conflicts, all kind of conflicts. So it is without a reason. It's not without a reason that Nigeria is called the laboratory of conflict. Now, to the next session, I'm trying to explore conflicts in Nigeria. We have learned in our previous lecture about these 5 concepts: patrimonialism, sovereignty, resources, ethnicity, and religion, which are mainly the driving factors why conflict happens in Africa, and this also happens in Nigeria. Let's first we talk about neo-patrimonialism. What is neo-patrimonialism? It's actually when you go to any countries in Africa, you define this new patrimonialism, and it's actually a political regime which is benefiting only a man or a group or a party through the use of resources available. And what happens later is the preferential appointment of certain people in the government. So actually, neo-patrimonialism is very undemocratic, because what will happen if a country preserves this neo-patrimonialism, decentralized leadership, is two things. First, only those who are affiliated with the elites or leaders will get close to the circle of power. And second, there will be the elites or leaders will maximize the resources available for their own benefits, thus exacerbating poverty. And what happens in Nigeria, we can see that Nigeria is experiencing many military coups. If I'm not mistaken, at least 6 military coups are taking place in Nigeria since they get independence until now. And why it can happen so easily? Why military coup can happen so easily? I think it's because in Nigeria there is a very weak, as I've said earlier, a very weak political institution, as well as weak leadership capabilities. Let's compare to other countries which institutions are perfectly built. You cannot just throw or turn down the leader, the president, the prime minister, just like that. You can't do that as simple as that. But what happened in Nigeria is simple to take down the governing leader. That's because they're a weak political institution, and what they wanted to do, what happened in Nigeria, one person wanted to seize the power for their own benefit, and this is what happened in Nigeria. So decentralized power is actually contains a lot of negativity, like corrupt practices and illegitimate behavior. But I don't know, ironically in Africa, there are many countries which seem to embrace this concept, this neo-patrimonialism thing. Though it's negative, but they don't seem like they can get out of this paradigm. And the second is about sovereignty. When we talk about sovereignty, we talk about the ownership of legitimate territory. And unfortunately, in most African countries, including Nigeria, what happened is they used to be colonies of Western colonialization, and they did not determine the borders. So the borders were determined by the rulers of the colony. And in the case of Nigeria, it was Britain. And the problem happened or arose after decolonization, because some of the countries who are now independent probably feel like they don't accept the border, or some people don't feel like they belong in certain countries for certain reasons, either because of the repression, either because of the striking differences with the majority of the people in their country. And finally, this kind of factors lead to this growing secessionist movement. And what we have seen in Nigeria, at least there are two secessionist movements that leads to the outbreak of conflict. First is Biafran War, and then the Niger Delta secessionist movement.
Okay, please make it shorter, but we need to continue our discussion since your topic is very important as part of material of examination. I think you should consider to continue your presentations next week. Okay. Maybe you will have only 10 or 15 minutes to finish. What about the next? Okay.
Only a couple of slides more. Can I finish now?
Okay. But you need to consider that the next class and I think the next lecture will be very soon.
Okay, fast forward about resources. I think conflict based on resources. We know that happening herders farmers conflict, Niger Delta oil crisis, and about ethnicity. Ethnicity is, let's say, the major factor of why conflict happens, because ethnicity is a part of one's identity and it is embedded on individual, and it becomes their pride. So a lot of ethnic-based conflict happening in Nigeria, including this Ilmu massacre, War crisis, also Yoruba conflict. And the last dimension of conflict, what happened conflicts in Nigeria, religion. At least there are several conflicts which were based on religion, because although religion is not a major factor like ethnicity, but religion plays an important role in escalating conflict. It's not a major force why conflict happens, but its presence could escalate conflict and could become worse, make conflict becomes worse. Corresponding conflicts in Nigeria. I hope I can give you another insight, another variation, the approaches to conflicts in Nigeria. But sadly, since the military presence is very powerful in Nigeria, what we have known earlier that since the first conflict until the last, military presence is very powerful, and a lot of conflicts that had happened in Nigeria was stopped or was ended by the military existence, military deterrence, because this group of people from military is very dominating the whole Nigerian politics. Thus, it's no wonder that a lot of approaches that have been taken to end or to resolve the conflict in Nigeria is through the military, deterrence. Actually, I'm just gonna explain this briefly. The role of African Union.
Okay, Rita, I think it would be better for you to continue your presentations next week. Okay, we will stop here because the time is very limited.
One slide left.
Right.
Okay. So I'm not going to talk much about the African Union because actually to connect or to correlate Nigeria with the African Union, you will not see African Union playing a huge part in resolving conflicts in Nigeria, because most of the time and most of the conflicts that happen in Nigeria, the local government or the national government had it handled. That's just like I said earlier, through the military approach. But probably one case that is growing and caught the attention of African Union is regarding the Boko Haram insurgency, because it's not only affecting Nigeria but other neighboring countries as well. And as far as I know, the African Union has promoted the multinational joint task force to combat the growing existence, the militancy of Boko Haram, because what they did was very a destruction in the African region. And probably that would be all from me. Of course, I realize that this is just a piece of many things that you can know better about Nigeria because due time constraints. I absolutely cannot cover all the conflicts or resolutions and whatever that I think that is going on in Nigeria. But I hope what I have explained to you will give you a brief overview to what is actually Nigeria all about. And thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.